Hello and welcome to Lord of the Board. My name is Sam Smith, and today we are going to be doing a strategy guide on Dr. Facilier in the Disney Villainous board game. Now, Dr. Facilier is unique because throughout the game he is going to be adding and subtracting to a pile of cards called the Fortune deck. Now, this pile of cards is located under the portrait on your player board, and it's face up, and throughout the game you're going to be encountering card effects that are either going to add cards to this or take away cards from this pile. Now, in order to win the game, you need a couple of game elements to take place. And thankfully, none of those game elements are found in the Fate deck. Now, you must collect 3 cards, and there's no real order in the way that you have to collect them, but you have to get the Talisman, Rule New Orleans, as well as the Cards Will Tell. Now, throughout the game, you're going to have to actually play the Talisman and have it on your side of the realm. And you're going to have to play Rule New Orleans to put it in your fortune pile. Then you're going to have to go to the Voodoo Emporium in your realm and play the Cards Will Tell. Now, like I said, throughout the game, you're going to be having cards added to that fortune deck. What you're going to do is you're going to shuffle that fortune deck, you're going to randomly draw 3, and if there is no masked spirits in there and you reveal Rule New Orleans, you have now successfully won the game. Now, before we get any more into this, I just wanted to mention that there is a brand new Villainous podcast on YouTube, and it is absolutely awesome. And, they didn't ask me to do this, but I just know that if you're watching this video, you probably enjoy Villainous as much as I do. And this Villainous podcast is super enjoyable. So I just wanted to share and let you know that they're out there. I've got a link in the description down below to their channel. Go ahead and give them a listen as well as subscribe if you enjoy the kind of content that they're producing. But with that, let's go ahead and get back to the video. We are going to be looking through Dr. Facilier's cards as well as the 4 locations in his realm. And then lastly, at the very end, I'm going to go over 3 tips and strategies on how to play him better. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first card that we're going to talk about is Rule New Orleans. And with this card, it is very, very simple. Whenever you draw it, play it as soon as humanly possible. That's all I got for you with this one. And the next card is going to be the Talisman. Now, with the Talisman, it's all going to be about timing as to when to play it. Whenever it's in your realm and a hero with a strength of 3 or less is played, they take the Talisman from you and put it on that hero card. So you're going to have to wait either until there's a lot of those cards already in your realm, or a lot of them already in the discard pile, or no cards have been drawn, because then you have a small chance of drawing one. And I've kind of got a little hack later in the video to make it easier to figure out when to play it. Now, the Cards Will Tell is equally important as the other 2, but there are 3 of these in the deck, so you're going to be seeing it a little more often. The important thing with the Cards Will Tell is making sure that you have more options to get more, because there's no guarantee that you're going to win the game the first time you play it. The Cards Will Tell is a very important card and should scarcely be discarded. And the next card that we're going to talk about is Sleight of Hand. And this is a great card for Dr. Facilier because it helps him to dig through his deck in order to find the cards he needs. Now, whenever you play this, you're obviously going to want to first be trying to look for either Rule New Orleans, the Talisman, or the Cards Will Tell. But if none of those exist in the 3 cards that you drew, then try to grab another Sleight of Hand card. And if that card doesn't exist out of the cards that you drew, then grab any card that I mention in this video. Now, Friends on the Other Side is a great card in every possible way because 1, who does not want more friends? But 2, you can gain more power by playing it, and when it goes into your fortune pile, if it does, you can also have the same effect, gain more power, and then it just goes into the discard pile. So there's really no loss to this. Try to get it played when you draw it as soon as possible. And it wouldn't be the Shadow Man if we didn't talk about his demons. And by demons, I mean the spirits in his deck. He's got the masked spirits as well as the shadow spirits, and both of these should be scarcely used, because if they end up in your fortune pile, they can really work against you. The masked spirits being one of the most dangerous cards, for if you reveal it when you're using the cards will tell, you can't win the game. You just have to discard it and you have to reshuffle the Rule New Orleans back into your deck. So what I like to do is I like to actually use the discard action and put these into the discard pile to make sure that they can't be used against you. And if you need to defeat heroes in your realm and you don't want to use the demons, just use the Shadow Man, because he has 4 strength and he's a really, really good ally to use. As well as, if he's in the fortune pile, you can get him back. And the next card is Dr. Facilier's Cane. Now this is a really good item card that when Dr. Facilier is at its location, you can use one of the actions adjacent to him. Now the best spots to use these are going to be the spots that have fate actions, because the only action that this can't use is a fate action. So you have most options if you play it on a location that has fate actions. Those are going to be Tiana's Place or the Voodoo Emporium. I really like playing it on the Voodoo Emporium because this actually gives you the capability to play the Cards Will Tell and another card. And a really great card to play would be the Talisman, because this makes sure that it can't be on your opponent's side when you play the Cards Will Tell. Master level play. Go ahead and take it. Now there is no sure way to stop those spirits from getting into your fortune pile, so if they do, you have 2 cards in your deck that can actually be used to get fortune cards out of your fortune pile in order for you to increase the chances of you getting that Rule New Orleans card. So first, let's talk about the Illusion Powder. This can be a great item card because each time you defeat a hero at its location, you can go through your fortune pile and remove 2 cards and discard them. The only downside to this card is that there's no sure way of telling where you're going to be defeating heroes. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that I know I can defeat a hero before playing this card, because just getting 1 use out of it is still going to make it worth your time. And the second way that you can remove a fortune out of your fortune pile is the condition card Desperation. Now, when another player discards 2 or more cards during their turn, you can play this card and you can choose 1 fortune card out of your pile and put it into your hand. This can be a great way to get rid of a fortune card, but also be careful because you don't want to be holding on to this and holding up space in your hand that you could otherwise be discarding and trying to get to those important items. So it's kind of a gamble as to whether you want to wait. Definitely don't keep onto it if you don't have to. The other condition card in Dr. Facilier's deck is Terror. And this one is probably going to be coming up a lot more often because there is a lot of villains that can gain 3 or more power in their turn. Now this can be really helpful to grab back a Cards Will Tell, or if you don't need any more Cards Will Tell and are looking for those important cards in your deck, you can go ahead and grab Sleight of Hand instead. And now that we have looked at some of his most important cards, let's go ahead and look at Dr. Facilier's realm. Now the first location is the Voodoo Emporium. Here you can gain 1 power, play a fate card, vanquish an opponent, and play a card. This is going to be a very important location though, especially to keep clear of your opponents, because this is the location that you have to play Cards Will Tell to win the game. And the second location in his realm is the Parade. This place you can gain 2 power, play a card, discard cards, and move an item or an ally. This is another great location for him because discarding cards is very important to cycle through your deck and get to those 3 most important cards, but also gaining 2 power is really important because pretty much everything you do in this game costs power. Tiana's Place is the third location in Dr. Facilier's realm, and here you can discard cards, gain 1 power, play a card, and also fate your opponents. And the nice thing about it is that you can guaranteed fate an opponent because it can't be covered by any fate cards. But otherwise, this location could mostly be used to discard cards, and so you can go back and forth from Tiana's Place and the Parade in order to really cycle through your deck. And the bayou is the fourth and final location in Dr. Facilier's realm, where you can move an item or an ally, play 2 cards, and gain 3 power. This is going to be another sure way to get through your deck, as long as you're playing effective cards like the ones that I have mentioned previously. And now that we have looked at his realm, let's go ahead and go over the 3 tips and strategies that I have for you. The first tip I have for you, I've kind of been reiterating throughout the entire video, and that is to discard your cards. There is so many times where the best thing to do on your turn is just going to be to discard everything in your hand and move through your deck. Those 3 cards that you absolutely need, the Cards Will Tell, the Talisman, and Rule New Orleans, those are going to be your main priority to get to as soon as possible. And tip number 2 is to be aware of the fortune cards that you have. If it's in your hand, it's still at risk of becoming a fortune card in your fortune pile, so make sure that if you have those spirits in your hand, to discard them as quick as possible, because what goes around comes around, especially with Dr. Facilier. And I want to go over a couple of the heroes that I think are very big threats that you need to remove right when they are played. Starting with Tiana. Now when she is played, she makes everything cost 1 more power. That is an absolute no. You got to get rid of her as soon as she pops up. The second big threat to your realm is going to be Mama Odie. Now what she does is when you play the Cards Will Tell, you can only draw 2 cards instead of 3. And even though she's super nice, you're going to have to vanquish her as soon as possible. And last but not least is Louis, who is actually one of my favorite characters in the animated film. But when he is in your realm, he makes it so that when you go to his location, you have to reveal your hand and your opponent can take 1 card and put it into your fortune pile. So when Louis is played, you're going to have to vanquish him as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching my video. This has been an absolute blast to make. And if you enjoyed this content, go ahead and drop a like, as well as comment down below what your favorite character is from the Disney Princess and the Frog film. But before you go ahead and click that bell notification if you want to be notified when my next video is released. And if you're interested on keeping up with what villain I'm going to cover next, go ahead and follow my Twitter or Instagram down below, because I post active updates as to what villain is coming. But with that, that is it for the video. Let's go ahead and drop the beat.